Good morning to you, Allison. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm
Happy
good.
Valentine's Day.
Right back at you. Happy Valentine's
Thanks.
Day to you and yours.
Neither of us are wearing red or pink or anything with hearts either. I just
I
realized
know,
that.
I know. We're not that overt to celebrate the day of love.
Yes, but we feel it. We feel it.
We feel it, absolutely. Um, Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are watching today's episode. So, welcome, social media friends, connections, and our business partners. In today's episode of Leave It to the Experts, and by the way, if you're watching this for the first time, let me share with you who we are. My name is Bill. With me is Allison. We are your co hosts for our podcast, Leave It to the Experts. There
Yay.
you go. Yes, yes. And with that, in today's episode, I've asked one of my business connections, Manny, to join us. And Allison, I hope you will find him very interesting and maybe very beneficial to what you do in your line of business. Manny is in the business of protecting the assets of high net worth individuals. So all of those toys, assets, that's what he brings to the table to make sure that they're all protected. So with that said, let's bring Manny into the studio to join us, okay?
All right.
Good morning, Manny.
Hey, good morning, Bill. Good morning, Allison.
Good morning.
We were wishing each other happy Valentine's Day, and we joked with each other that neither one of us are wearing
Nobody's
red, and
wearing
we
red.
see that you're not doing the same either.
No, maybe
We
later.
still feel it. Still
Maybe
feel the
later.
love.
So, Manny, happy Valentine's Day to you and yours, okay?
Likewise. Thanks.
Yeah. So, Manny, I before bringing you into the studio, I shared with Allison that I've invited you to guest in our episode today. Why? Because you, like us, you are sometimes in a very crowded business where you have some of your industry peers um, that seem to do what you do. But one of the things that I took away after I met you is you actually have a very focused niche of your business. Can you kind of give us, a high level? What is it that you do, and what is your focus niche?
Sure. Thanks. I work for Associated Agencies. We're a risk and insurance advisory firm. I'm in their private client group. And my focus, as you alluded to, is the high net worth or the affluent market space, that market niche. Um, People ask, well, what does that look like? And I'll say, well, think of people that have multiple homes in multiple states because we have a national footprint and an international presence. Think $1 million homes or higher. Think of people that have five starting out as entry level, meaning for us in our niche, 5 million, $10 million in assets that need to be protected. And our client also looks like people that are outgrowing their middle market policies. So your all states of the world, your state farms of the world. And what I mean by outgrowing is the carriers that we use in the affluent market space offer broader coverage on multiple levels, broader reach. Um, and you had mentioned to Allison in the opening about protecting their toys or their assets. I'm in the business, our company's in the business of protecting their tangible assets, but importantly, on the other side of the spectrum is protecting their wealth from liability risk. So
Mhm.
we usually lead in, a client will approach us saying they need home insurance for a $2 million home, $3 million home. But we always circle back, if not start the conversation talking about their umbrella policy Is it sufficient? Do they need more coverage? Is the carrier they're with providing adequate coverage? And we can get into a little bit more of those details later.
Okay. So in how you've described this, Manny, you're not then really competing for the same client against some of your mid-market industry peers. You actually partner with them and or work with them when they can't provide a solution, correct?
Yes. Yeah, the broad answer is yes. Work with them. We'll receive a lead or a prospect, and they'll present us with insurance information from a different carrier. And my job is to identify the gaps, deficiencies, and blind spots within that policy, and then consult and advise the client on what he or she should have, coverage they might not have ever even known of, and just to have that conversation, ultimately leading to us obtaining them as a client and a lifelong partner to advise them on their risks.
Okay. So can you elaborate a little bit more on this type of client that you attract, the high net worth? Can you be a little bit more specific with maybe describing one or two avatars? Like, who are they?
Sure.
How do they come to you? How do you get in front of them? Something like that.
Sure. So it's a broad range. Okay. So I mentioned, the $5 million asset client. We have clients that have over 100 million in assets. And so there's a broad range. They can look like inherited wealth, so a family office.
Got it.
They could be CEOs, politicians, athletes, business owners, people that have significant assets that need to be protected. And I touched on that wealth piece because that's where the umbrella comes in. And we obtain those clients through our network of people, our centers of influence, word of mouth. We don't have commercials, so our leads and our referrals that come in have come from a place of trust and respect from previous interactions with either clients or centers of influence.
Gotcha. So with professional athletes, I'm going to go on a guess. Maybe some of your relationships are with their business managers and sports agents, like Jerry Maguire.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, perfect.
Not Jerry himself, but it's
Not
usually
Jerry
somebody
himself, correct.
somebody that they've designated as the point person to handle those issues.
Okay.
Do you ever find, Manny? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Allison. Go for it.
I just had a quick question to kind of satisfy my own curiosity, because it is kind of a fascinating niche to be in. I mean, all of us want to peek into the world of the extremely affluent and influential people. And I wonder if when you're first starting a relationship with a new client, do you ever encounter any kind of like standoffishness, or is it more challenging to gain the trust of someone who has more to protect than the average person?
That's a great question, and I get asked that a lot. Prior to entering the high net worth space in my career, a little over 4 years ago, I worked in the middle market space. I worked for State Farm Insurance. So I was in that middle market space with a significant claims background, agency management background, and I was a State Farm agent. And here's the one thing I've learned, when I came into the space, I thought, wow, so I'm going to be talking to millionaires, and things are going to be way different. The only thing that's really different is the dollar amount. And what I mean by that is, so rather than insuring a $400,000 house, I'm insuring a $4 million house. The thing that has remained the same is people are people, and they still want that relationship. They still want to have those conversations. They still want somebody they can trust. They still want somebody that they know will have a conversation with them and not try to sell them something. We'll get to that later. You talked about a common myth in the insurance business, but going over all of the details of their life to make sure that they're properly protected. at the end of the day, they still want to talk to you. They still want to make sure you're keeping in touch, keeping them informed about the market. None of that has changed.
Okay.
So that's one thing I found, I guess, comforting, is you're just coming into this and realizing these are people too. They want a relationship with their agent and their broker. Sometimes they'll have an office manager or somebody else taking care of those things. But at the end of the day, they still want that touch, that education, and that relationship.
Millionaires are just like us
That's true.
to some degree.
To
Yeah.
some degree. What is your competitive edge when you're serving the avatars of your clients?
Well, I'll speak on behalf of our company itself, so Associated Agencies, because there are plenty of brokers out there, right? Plenty of insurance agents, captive, non-captive. And I'll speak just to the culture of our company. They've been around for over 130 years. Our president's motto is to take the needs of those around us personally. And he has instilled that. I mean, I've heard that I don't know how many times since I've been with the company. But again, it goes back to that relationship piece, right, Allison? You take the needs of those around us personally, whether it was middle market or whether in the high net worth space, and you treat people with the respect, right? And also with our company, I think our advantage is collaboration. We have a whole commercial side of the house, life insurance side of the house, employee benefits side. And so there's a lot of collaboration with working with our clients in providing an overall risk assessment and risk insurance program. So that's our competitive advantage. I mean, everybody out there does the same thing as far as the annual reviews and making changes on insurance policies, et cetera. But I think it's that extra culture piece which gives us a competitive advantage.
Wonderful. Well said.
If I could jump in with another comment/question. So in my former life, for almost 2 decades, I sold technology to surgeons and hospital administrators. So also people who are generally extremely well educated, high net worth individuals. And it is a little bit of a different animal to start. And in that industry, which was also very niche, social proof goes a long way. But you have to be careful how you use it. Some people don't take so well to name dropping. Others are very competitive, and if they hear that another surgeon up the street has XYZ widget, that alone is going to make them want XYZ widget. Do you find with your client base that social proof is something that you have to demonstrate? Do you find that there is any competitiveness amongst clients who are in certain similar industries, or is it just sort of, you're taking each individual as an individual and building that trust-based relationship one-on-one, regardless of, I work with so-and-so, or,
Right.
past experience and references?
Unless it's a direct referral from a client or center of influence. So it's private client for a reason. We cannot name drop. We have to protect the privacy of the individuals that we insure. So we can't name drop, and we don't. And so if a referral comes to us from a center of influence or a client, then of course they're gonna know who was sent their way, and that's where our business comes from, right? You developed a relationship with somebody previously, and now they trust you, and they're sending somebody that needs help or needs a fresh set of eyes to review their insurance program. So that's the proof right there. Word of mouth and experience and a reputation this company has built for over 130 years.
Makes sense. Sorry, Bill, I didn't mean to step on the flow there.
Great question. I was thinking that as well. And, privacy, I think with family offices and high net worth, it's so important. They don't want to, they don't want too many people to know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So back at you, Allison, with I know some of the questions you wanted to ask Manny to learn more about him and his business.
Yeah, I mean, and this is where it gets interesting when we talk to different experts from so many different industries. Obviously, the last few years with the pandemic it's changed the way people live. It's changed the way people do business and interact, and it's probably got a lot of people rethinking how they want to protect their assets. And am I prepared for this to potentially happen again? Hopefully not, but if it does in the future. So I was wondering, Manny, for you and your client base, how have you seen their needs change over the last few years since the pandemic and all of the fallout that we're still experiencing from years of lockdown and businesses suffering and obviously loss of life in many cases? So just wondering how that's impacted your clients specifically.
Right. What you said is true. It has allowed people more time to look at things maybe they haven't looked at in a couple of years, which is great for us for new business, right? I'm recalling a client we obtained early last year who was worth a significant amount of money and came to us with a $1 million umbrella policy, which was clearly not enough, but nobody had talked to him in several years about this. So all it took was talking to them because they had time due to the pandemic to look at he had time to look at his insurance portfolio and said, I need to talk to somebody. And so it's been great for us. I mean, people have been wanting to take a closer look, which is good for us business-wise, but it's also good for the client, right? Because if there's a gap there and then they're out of pocket money or there's an exposure there that they're not properly protected for, they're going to suffer financially. So to touch on a financial piece, even though we might review a program and they might end up paying more for their insurance annually, they're paying for more coverage and feeling better protected. So it's helped in two ways. It's helped in business for us, new business, because people are looking at their policies, but it's also helped those clients, prospects, because they're looking closely at things. I was in claims for 10 and a half years. So I saw when people were uninsured or underinsured or didn't have the proper coverage in place. So I was able to witness that firsthand. And it's comforting, being an insurance nerd, comforting to know that I could talk to people about their coverage that they have, educate them, and advise if they should buy more or go with a higher deductible. And it's all a discussion. But the pandemic has definitely opened up those two doors, both for us and for the client.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's strange sometimes to view something as catastrophic as a global pandemic as an opportunity, but at least it gave you an opportunity to re-educate your clients, and that adds value. Like you said, even if they ultimately are spending more money, if they're getting more value for what they're spending and more peace of mind, that's kind of what insurance is all about, is making sure that people feel secure. Right. I was going to ask you a question about attracting new business, but we kind of touched on that and how important it is to have strong referrals and word of mouth and, people just kind of moving through the natural cycle of their life and their growth and outgrowing one policy or one type of insurance product and needing another. So I kind of want to take a step back instead and ask you how you got on this path. What even sparked an interest in you in becoming a part of the insurance industry? And furthermore, did you have the vision that one day this is where you wanted to be, working with high net worth individuals, private clients? Or was this sort of like you just let it unfold and we're along for the ride?
That's a great question. And if we have 3 hours for this recording, Bill, I could take up a full 3 hours, but I'll give you the Cliff's Notes version. So when I was in college, I think a professor had mentioned, it was after my sophomore year, he said, hey, you need to get something on your resume as you prepare to graduate. And this way you're competitive when you're interviewing. And at the time I was just delivering furniture for a company back in my hometown for my summer job. And whenever I go home over Christmas break, spring breaks. And so I thought, well, I can't put that on a resume if I'm studying business. I was a business major at Illinois State University. And then unfortunately, between my the fall semester of my junior year, my grandfather died. And I remember sitting or laying in my bedroom and listening to my parents, my dad, his siblings get into an argument about how they were going to bury my grandfather. And they were all trying to pull together money. And I remember just hearing my dad talk about life insurance. And I kept hearing life insurance. And why didn't daddy have life insurance? And so, go back to school after the funeral, et cetera. And I walked into career services down at Illinois State. And State Farm's home is down there in Bloomington, and Illinois State's down there in Bloomington Normal. And so I walk into career services and I saw State Farm information everywhere. And so I decided to do an internship. But early on in my career, I initially thought, why didn't anybody talk to my grandfather, who was a minority, about insurance? What was missed there? And is this happening not only to my family, but numerous families, whether you're a minority or not, right? Mm-hmm. Is something not being talked about or not being said, or people not being educated about certain types of insurance that should be and could be very beneficial for a person or a family? And in that case, our family, right? It would have eliminated an argument. It would have eliminated having to pull together money just to bury somebody and provide a proper funeral. And so I thought that shouldn't happen. And that eventually blossomed and grew into other lines of insurance and other products, and being in claims and seeing people be underinsured or not having insurance, forgetting to pay their bill. And then we have to say, no, we can't pay your claim. So my whole career, starting with State Farm, grew into talking to people or being there for them when they have a claim, right? That's what people pay for. And people would say, well, why do you like claims? I would say, I just like helping people and solving their problems. At that given point, they have a problem. They had an accident. At fault or not at fault, doesn't matter. That's what they've paid for. And so that drew me into the insurance, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. And then I was an agency manager for State Farm. So we helped train 42 different agents and their staff on the same principles of talking to people about insurance. Then I was a State Farm agent for 8 years, doing the same thing, talking to people, of course, about life insurance and every other product line. So it was always there having those conversations and helping people. And then in 2017, unfortunately, we had life threw us a curveball, and my wife got sick, and she went into stage 5 kidney failure. And I donated a kidney to her in 2017.
Wow.
And at that time, she was going to go back to school part-time. And so we knew financially we couldn't keep the State Farm agency growing. And I wanted to stay in the insurance business. So I looked, okay, where can I grow my mind and broaden my horizon in the insurance world? And that's when I started looking at the affluent market or the high net worth space. So in 2018 is when I entered I worked for Marsh & McLennan for 2 years, and then came over to Associated, and I've been here for almost 2.5 years now. So that's the Cliff's Notes version, but maybe one day offline I'll give you the full version.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. It sounds like it was a mix of circumstance and then strategy when you had to adapt to your own life circumstances. So that's amazing. I hope your wife is doing well today.
Oh yeah, she is. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, no, that is really interesting. Sorry, I'm going off script here because I looked back at our questions and I'm like, we're kind of covering it as we go. But another question that I had is, obviously to set the table here, part of the reason why Bill and I are doing this podcast is we want our audience, our social media following, anyone who might see this, to just become more informed on which professionals to go to in which realm when they need help with.
I think, is Allison frozen, Bill?
I think Allison may have froze on us. Let's see if she comes back.
Sure.
Oh, wow. So
I think she was kind of leading to, how, we could help, you being in a lending business, Allison being in, a realtor.
Yeah.
I think that's
So
maybe we
hopefully,
should.
when you guys, okay, did you guys,
You're back.
am I back?
Yes.
I'm sorry about that. That's why we record, because Allison has unreliable internet. Next person we have on should be from Xfinity or Comcast, so I can grill them on why the internet is so bad. The question I was going to ask for you, Manny, is what other professionals do you often find yourself liaising with in your kind of ecosystem? Like obviously as a realtor, I work with a lot of different lenders. I may also have conversations with attorneys, appraisers, inspectors, insurance agents. So for you, I was wondering who you find yourself kind of frequently strategically partnering with.
Sure. So financial advisors, estate planning attorneys, CPAs, realtors, the luxury realtor market, realtors overall, lenders, of course. Those are probably the main five. Was it 5 or 6? But those are the main five. And so one, the financial advisor, right? He or she is there to grow, protect the wealth of their particular client, and they're checking a box to make sure that they have insurance. But we've built relationships with those partners to say, do you need a fresh set of eyes to review your insurance program? When was the last time you talked to your agent? The last thing I want is for you to walk into the door and say you need to liquidate assets because there was a judgment entered against you for being at fault for an accident.
Right.
CPAs, we all know what CPAs do. So again, it's referring that insurance individual to take a look at things to make sure they're properly protected. Estate planning individuals, trusts and LLCs, are they listed on the policies? Does an LLC hold property? Do they need to be the named insured? Are they going to be an additional insured? Luxury realtor market. When you're walking around with your agent, they might not live in a flood zone, but has anybody talked to them about the importance of flood insurance? Probably not, because they're not in a flood zone.
Mm-hmm.
The lender bill isn't going to require it because they're not in a flood zone. We talk to every single client about flood. If water fills into your window wells from the outside in and collapses into your home, that's a flood. And most insurance companies are going to deny that claim. If you have a big $2-3 million home with a walkout basement, and that walkout basement where that drain is on the outside, if that clogs and there's a flood in that area and it spills into your basement, that's a flood. Most carriers are going to decline that coverage, saying it's flood water, not a backup of sewer and drain. So realtors, I've given them a marketing piece of just some different things they could talk to their clients about to make you Allison, as a realtor, educational. And are they going to remember me placing that coverage? They're going to remember you saying, Allison told me to ask this guy about flood insurance. And the list goes on, and there's multiple coverages. But that's one of them. And then Bill, we'll see, we'll obtain declarations pages from lenders, not from lenders, from a carrier. And we'll see a home that's worth 1.5 million, and we'll see it insured for 7 million or 7.5, not millions, 700,000. Sorry. And that's usually, not always, but that's usually a lender saying, we need this home insured for at least this much.
Right.
And then it satisfies the requirement for closing, and boom, boom, boom. People are just worried about signing the bottom line to get that dream home, right? But then if they have a loss down the line and it's a total loss, they're not going to have enough coverage to rebuild their home. They're going to be out of pocket money.
Right.
So that's one of the things we see, and the reasons why we partner with lenders as well.
Yeah. Great question, Allison. As we wrap up, for those of you who are watching, you heard it from Manny as to the professionals that he's looking to build new relationships with. So if you are in one of those professions and you need a private client relationship to protect those assets, reach out to Manny. You can find him on social media. Manny, thank you for sharing your time with us today. But more importantly, thank you for sharing kind of your personal why as to why you do what you do today.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for having me on, Bill. And I just want to thank you because I forgot who asked the question about, the relationships with centers of influence and people you know. And you're one of those people, Bill. And now, Allison, you're one of those people. And had I not, formed a bond with you, Bill, was it 2 years ago now? I might not even be on here being able to speak about the things I think are important to me. So thank you.
You're very welcome. So for all of you watching today, thank you for sharing your time with us. And until the next episode, for today, happy Valentine's Day, the day of love. And as Manu would probably second this motion, when life events occur, when they present us with those challenges, the reason why Manny provides the solutions that he does, it's not just to protect those assets, protect the wealth for ourselves, but it's really to protect the same for our loved ones. So in the spirit of Happy Valentine's Day, to both of you, Happy Valentine's Day to you and yours.
Thank you. Have a
Happy
great day.
Valentine's Day. Thanks, Manny. Great conversation today.